Welcome to episode 2 of Maine's Amateur Wrestling Podcast. I'm Thorn Dickinson, and with me is the podcast co-host, Dennis Bishop. And both of us are very excited to have with us Joe Eon, the head coach of Massabesic's wrestling program, and also Jack Harriman, who is one of the seniors on the squad. Congratulations to both of you on an incredible season for both of you, for the team overall. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, I just wanted to start. What was your first memory of wrestling? How did you first begin it?
So I've been wrestling for pretty much as long as I can remember. I remember we had some family friends that were wrestling. So that's how we originally got into it, because I'm the oldest sibling in my family. So there was no like older brother or anything to start it. So yeah, there were no wrestlers in my family before that. So I was the first one, and I remember being in the stable down by the high school next to the milk room. That was our wrestling room. But yeah, I remember when I first learned how to get in a stance, it was Coach Pete. I remember he says, pretend like you're sitting on the toilet playing video games. That's how I first learned my stance. Those are the memories that I still carry with me.
Do you still think about that now when you're actually setting up to get on the mat, or no? Is that memory gone?
Not exactly. That's more comfortable if you have like a more of a square stance, which I don't have.
What are your memories you have from that time period?
So I remember I won my first tournament. I took first place, and I won that same tournament for like the first 3 years. But then we stopped going. It was up in Camden. We had that tournament every year. But I do remember a lot of third and fourth places all through like third, fourth, fifth grade. You know, it was a struggle getting to practice every day. You know, putting up a fight every time it was time to go to practice. But, you know, I pushed through it. My dad always was big on, you know, persistence and going when you don't want to go. So
maybe we talk about the transition to high school first. Maybe Jack, with you, is that when did you start wrestling at the high school level? Was it your freshman year? Or?
Yeah. So when I was in 8th grade, that's the year COVID hit. So I transitioned into high school at a pretty weird time because we didn't have a season my freshman year because the main season got canceled.
Yep. So
my first experience wrestling in high school was my sophomore year, and we were all wearing masks while wrestling, which I don't understand that, but, you know.
I would imagine it was a little harder to breathe.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone really, like, actually, you know, had their mask, like, over their nose the whole time. Yeah. So, like, and I mean, the ref wasn't going to stop the match if the mask came down a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's a hard situation to control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a year before, 2 years before I became the coach, and I remember seeing pictures and videos and of these kids wearing masks, and I told myself I could have never done that. They can't be easy.
So you had to deal with that. How did it feel like? You know, you were, as a young kid, you were watching the varsity matches. What did it feel like when you're actually now participating in the team?
Yeah, so my first match in high school was actually at home under the mat light. And it was actually a pin, which was pretty good. But the next match after that was like the worst possible like situation you could imagine. It was like, so I was the last match of the night. We were going against Wells, and they had a really solid team that year. And then like came down to my match, you know the story. And like,
so what was the team score was pretty close at that time?
It was. So we were up 5. So I only didn't need to get pinned. And I mean, I think you can guess what happened. I got stuck under the mat light in front of my home crowd.
Was it somebody that were they favored in a sense?
I hadn't wrestled him a while. I wrestled him a couple times in 8th grade. In middle school, I wrestled him a couple times, but you might know him, Eli Potter.
Okay.
He's won a couple state titles, I'm pretty sure. For Wells.
And he's only a junior, I think. He's still got one more year.
Yeah,
very good wrestler.
Yeah.
So it's you went from the amazing victory on your first match, which was that a home match also?
Yep.
Yeah, that must have been pretty.
Yeah,
incredible.
It was a tri-meet with Deering and Wells.
And then to like not the most happiest moment.
I can't think of a sport that develops character and builds perseverance more than wrestling does because of the one-on-one. And I'm sure, Jack, you came back from that just fine and
Yep.
persevered. And it's that's the big accomplishment right there.
Yep.
Not the fact that you won again, but the fact you picked yourself up by your bootstraps and kept fighting and moved on, and you did win.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot for you as a person. I know when I was coaching, I used to tell my kids, they'd say, Coach, you don't want any of us to go undefeated. And I'd say, well, no, I don't. Why? Because you're going to learn more from that one loss than you will any 10 wins. And it's going to develop you as a person more. And I know a lot of them didn't understand it right away, but later on in life, they did. And they would often, say that to me in conversations later on. They'd say, yeah, you were right about that. So you're right; it does tie into life very closely.
So how about you, Jack? I mean, obviously you're still young, but
Yep.
do you feel that same benefit from wrestling in your own life?
Yeah, I've heard the saying many times that once you have gotten through a full wrestling season, everything else seems easy. And that's definitely true. I came back this year, my senior year, and I tried out football. I played it all up through 8th grade. And I was like, I'll just come back for my senior year. What's the harm in it? And I mean, it was hard, don't get me wrong, but compared to like some of those real tough wrestling practices, I was always able to find a way to push through pretty easily and, get the job done.
Well, that's great. Well, now that we've been talking about overcoming losses, let's shift to this year, which, again, had to be a pretty amazing experience. Maybe, Joe, we'll start with you. What was your kind of feeling coming into the season? You had a very successful first season, I think, as a coach. Maybe
Yep.
Bring us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so my first year, we had a great season, and we took second at states, and we missed it by, I think it was 20 points, but it was a lot closer than that. We had a couple unfortunate things with sickness and a couple matches not go our way at regionals and leading up that didn't put us in the best position, but we still had a heck of a tournament and did as well as I think we could have that year. So coming this year, we had lost some seniors, but we also still had a core nucleus of sophomores and juniors that had moved up to juniors and seniors. So I think we all knew we had something at stake and it's some unfinished business that we wanted to take. So, so day one, I have everyone write their goals, and we have a team goal. And this year, our team goal was to get over that hill and be state champions, and reiterated that almost every day. And even after a dual meet that we won or lost, we kept our head up, or we kept that focus. Hey, this is just another match. We still have more business to do. So I mean, we went down and won the Essex tournament in Vermont. I think we were down by quite a few points going into the finals. And without my 165 pounder, he was out with injury, Dominic Bubar. But we went down there and we had a lot of guys in the finals, and we had some. I think it was us and Colchester that were neck and neck, and they a couple of their guys lost, and all of our guys won, and miraculously we won that tournament. And I told the team that night, I go, guys, we have to just keep working hard, do what you can do, and pretty much do your job, and win the matches you're supposed to win, and we're gonna be just fine.
Yep.
And control what we can control. And we went into the regional tournament, took second at regionals. That was a tough one to swallow, but that wasn't our end goal. So we went into states with seven guys, and I was doing the math. Coach and I were doing the math to see what the scores, if this and that, and I knew going into the state tournament, if we control what we can control, and won the match supposed to win and placed how we were supposed to, that we would win that tournament. And all 7 of my guys showed up, and they all wrestled their butts off, and I couldn't couldn't have been prouder of the way they wrestled. I mean, one of those guys losing a match anywhere would have been the difference
Right.
of that result.
Yeah, well, even Jack's match, right? Because was Jack's the second to the last Massabesic wrestler? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure after my win, it made it so that Dom only had to win.
Yep.
He didn't have to pin that match, so.
Yeah, we were down by, 2 or 3 after
Yep.
that. So
Yep.
a win would have given us 4 points.
Now, did Dominic know that, or did he think he had to pin, or did he just want to pin?
Yeah, well, we were joking around with him, for the week leading up to stage. We're like, Dom, it's going to come down to you. You're going to have to get the pin. Just trying to get in his head. But, he always goes out and does what he needs us to do.
Yeah. And he was giving me a little bit of crap at practice. He goes, Coach, if we need the pin, I'm going to go out there and I'm not going to pin him and drive you nuts. And I said,
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get it right down to a tech fall.
That's
and just
hilarious.
Stall it out.
Yeah, it was in the first period, wasn't it, that Dominic pinned? Or no,
I think it was early second
Oh,
period.
early
Yeah,
second,
it was,
sure.
he didn't make it to the full
I'm
set.
pretty sure
Okay.
it was.
So he did cause you a little bit. No, you knew at that point as long as he won.
As long as he won. I remember there was one point in the match, so he was on top, and he doesn't remember it, and he probably felt comfortable from a coach watching the match. He was on top, and he got his head a little high and kind of over the top of the guy, and he got it right back. But for a second there, I was having nightmares.
How different is it as a coach? Like, obviously, when you're on the match, you're in the match, right?
I wrestle every one of those matches with those guys. The hard part about coaching is you're nervous all day. It's not just nervous when you're wrestling. And then you wrestle, or as soon as you touch that guy, the nerves are gone. And then you don't get nervous again until 45, 30 minutes before your next match. Coaching, you're nervous all day. Because you don't have any control. You can teach them everything you know and get them prepared, but when that whistle blows, your guy could be up 14-0 and get caught on his back and pinned, and you have no control over that. You might be thinking, hey, this is what you have to do, but are they thinking that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, it's an extra weight and there's no way to get rid of that feeling. It's like you said, it's not, once you step out on the mat, I think anybody that's wrestled for a while knows how to move into the match itself. And then you're burning off a bunch of calories. You're just sitting there, like, internalizing everything.
Oh, yeah, I've had tournaments where I lose 4 or 5 pounds over the course of the day. And I'm like, this is a good start to my diet.
Well, you do have the ability to get some elevation. When you're the picture of you jumping up in the air after Dominic's pin was pretty impressive. So
yeah,
it was a cool moment for wrestling. So starting your senior year, you've made it past the COVID years, and now what was your feeling about yourself, the team? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I just felt like obviously we had some unfinished business because in the past couple years we'd always kind of like lost it at regionals. Not performed to our abilities my sophomore year and our junior year. And then, so yeah, regionals this year, it's kind of like that was happening all over again. Like I was kind of watching everything fall apart, like right in front of my eyes.
Yep.
I'm like, man, we're losing like kids that should be qualifying that are dropping out of the tournament. But just like Coach Joe, I was doing the math in my head next week with our qualifiers. I'm like, I still think we got it, So that was definitely a long week, just counting down the days for that, for leading up to states.
So maybe Jack, just we're looking at the first screenshot of your wrestling match here. Tell me what, were you already in the match? How were you feeling coming onto the mat? What did you know about your opponent? And
so this was kind of a surreal moment, like. My whole career leading up, it's always like you're just wondering what your state finals match is going to be like. And, it kind of didn't feel real that I was like actually there in the moment. But so I wasn't actually as nervous as I thought I was going to be. Like there was a pretty big crowd that, how they surround the mat during all the finals matches. But that wasn't really a factor in my mind. And this kid I'd wrestled once before this year. at the Edward Little meet,
Yep.
and that was a close match. I've had trouble with this kid this year, but it was the first time I've wrestled him this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
It was like a 3-2 match.
Steven Galkowski.
Okay.
Mount Blue, right?
Yep.
So what are you thinking here?
Go for my bread and butter.
Yep.
Slide by. That's been my move for the past couple years.
And Jack does a great job with that Merkle, but that's another one of those where it gets me nervous every time because he's got that leg stuck in there. And even though you have control, it's not always a position that you can control for long.
Yeah, it doesn't look. I feel really comfortable whenever I'm in that position, though. Whenever I get that Merkle in.
But one thing about Jack all season long is he could always ride people pretty good and had a good as he gets in his shape. I think he let him up on that one though.
Yeah. So what was your thinking? Just were you thinking of trying to ride him out for the period, or were you just...
I was trying to stay heavy there, but I obviously didn't know that was going to be the only time we scored that match. So
Looked like he lost his hips there for a second. He
Yeah.
was able to create some separation.
And do you remember the second period?
I don't think much happens in the second period.
There's your cross-face cradle.
I don't know how I didn't get points on that. And look, so I had that reverse half there. I was really pushing to get that. You see, I'm putting a lot of effort into trying to get that reverse half because,
He looked like he was driving his elbow pretty hard into your
He
head.
looks pretty strong, Jack. Is he as strong
Yeah,
as
that
he
was
looks?
most of the problem, trying to turn him.
Yeah.
See, right here, I thought I had it.
Joe's in the way there.
That's Ethan.
Oh, was it Ethan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure the official didn't get a full 2 count out in his mind.
And with the score of the states, points-wise, team-wise, being so close, I think it just energized every one of these matches that much more.
Oh, the crowd was right into it.
It
We
was-
talked about that in our first podcast. How into it the crowd was.
Any little wrong move.
Yeah, because the noble crowd is up there, and the crowd up there on the seats there, and then you guys were all behind the camera here, and it was like when Noble did well, there was a big. You have really good hip control there. You do a good sprawler. Is it hard for somebody to take you down? On a
Yeah,
double
I'm
leg
pretty
tackle?
I remember, I think I only gave up like 3 or 4 takedowns this past year, but
That's very good.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're 2-2. This is third period now.
Good hand control.
Yeah.
So now you're up 3-2.
I remember it was either before the third period or it might have been a blood time, but I went over back to the corner, and Coach Joe was like, "You're going to have to take him down again." So, I definitely, I agreed. I know I wasn't going to be able to stall out the rest of the match, especially with Noble's crowd.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Trying to get a stall
Yeah,
call.
That's a lifetime up
Yeah.
by
You have
one.
to be active.
And that's great. Being the aggressor when you're up 3-2, it's the right way to wrestle in my mind. You're not just trying to run out the clock.
See, right? Oh, not right there.
And my thinking right now is just hold the center, good stance, forward pressure. Because if you're holding the center and
Oh, nice.
Oh,
that's
nice
another
throw
one.
by.
if you're up by one,
You're very
but
slick with that move, Jack.
Now, this is the part where you got nervous, probably, right? I did watch this.
yeah, now he's up 5-2, so he can give up a reversal.
I do give
but
up a
nothing-
reversal
Nothing
here
to
pretty
his
quick.
back.
But this guy was driving you hard.
I wasn't going to turn.
Well, there's no way.
I was turning. I don't get turned very often, but when I do, I can usually bridge off
And
pretty
now,
easily.
right now,
But like backs were still a point. Like if you got any back points, I would have been down.
It's not happening now.
Here I was afraid I was going to get called for stalling
Oh.
at this point. But I mean, I thought he was going to cut me. I thought that's what was coming next.
right
but-
now he still has control.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, so-
he does.
Yeah, either he didn't think of letting you go, or he thought he still had a chance of getting you on your back. And here comes the timer. So this had to be a cool moment when you
Yeah.
knew a time was running down.
And it was funny because every time our guys won, our crowd went nuts,
Yeah.
and then Noble got pretty quiet on the other side.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's exactly what we talked about the first podcast, the back and forth.
And then Noble's guy won, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden they go nuts, and we weren't saying peep.
It made for a great state meet. It really did.
Maybe just talk a little about your coaches and what they mean to you, and how that all works. Because you guys it seems like you have a great cohesive coaching staff.
Yeah, we do have a quite a bit of a. I was talking to Jack on the way up here. We have wrestling experience, but we also have a lot of just general coaching experience with Luke and as my assistant, and Leo with the wrestling experience as well. And he's got a few years. But Luke's also the head football coach. So he and Luke wrestled up until 8th grade, I think. So he has that wrestling experience up till then. But you don't have to have an extraneous wrestling resume, to be a good wrestling coach. If you have the attitude and the character and the traits, to know what it's like to be a hard worker and push yourself and what it takes to become a champion, I mean, you got it. You know what I'm saying? And Luke was part of the 2000 state championship football team at Massabesic. So he was on a state team, and he understands what it's like to work hard and want something and go and get that.
Yeah. And from your perspective, Jack, is there certain coaches that you had more of a relationship with, or was it kind of every coach had some role in your development?
Yeah, so I played football, so Coach Labby was there, and we had been spending a lot of time, like, just after school every single day, We were in the same room, he was coaching, and so during the wrestling season, he was definitely more of like the motivational guy, so he would really get in your corner, he'd be reaffirming you, telling you what you need to do, giving you all the motivation you need. Well, Coach Joe was obviously there. He's like the minds of it, He knows what you should do. And with Leo, he's younger, so we can relate more to him. We have a lot of conversations about stuff that we remember from when he was wrestling in high school. Mm-hmm. So.
And it's nice having Leo in there as well, because he's still, we're all relatively young still, but he's a good practice body. So he'll jump in with Jack, he'll jump in with Dom, he'll jump in with Isaac or Evan Boulards, and which is nice, because I would love, and I do jump in with these guys and still wrestle with them, but I also have to have eyes on everybody. I can't it's doing nobody any good except for that one person if I'm wrestling that one person all practice. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So even though I want to be in there, I can't. I have to coach everybody, and I'm having multiple coaches, and us all being young. Even Coach Labby jumps in there, and he's a good body for the bigger guys. So that gives us that dynamic as well.
Yep. All the great programs in the state have great coaching staffs, from the head coach right on down through their assistants, and they usually all work well together. So you guys are a perfect example of that.
So I'm gonna bring up a photo for us to look at here, and this is from the match we just watched, where you won the high school championship. There's a couple of things I'm really curious about. Who's this?
Oh, so I was gonna say that's one of my coaches I forgot to mention.
That's Ethan. That's the guy that was kind of in front of the camera.
Okay.
He was a senior last year on the team.
So you obviously you could tell from his celebration, he's vicariously enjoying your win. So it seemed like it was pretty important to him.
Yeah.
So and Ethan's in there every day too, which I forgot to mention, but he's another one. Sometimes he wants to wrestle me still more than everybody else, but I got to tell Ethan, hey, go wrestle with Dom. You know what I mean? He needs it more than me. I've had my wrestling days. He's the one wrestling.
Yeah.
But he's another great guy. Came back. I think he's actually be wrestling at the ballpark tournament. At least last time I talked to him, he said.
Oh, good for him.
He was going to. But he's in there every day, and he even came up to me one of the first practices, and I told him, "You're gonna be. Doesn't take long to get out of wrestling shape, man." And he went out there 500 miles an hour, and you could tell his face was red, eyes are red. He's, "Coach, I'm tired." I'm like, "It only gets worse, man."
Yeah.
But it's nice having him in the room.
And Dennis, maybe we'll ask you to comment on the refereeing pose here. What do you think?
That's Sean Guest, who's one of our best, absolutely. And
Always stoic.
that's Sean's style. And you know, but he's a great ref. He's always on top of it. His calls are usually right on the money. But he's very stoic.
I love it in this image with you have the defeat and the victory, you have the celebration in the back.
And there was
Sean.
no way he was going to take that special moment from you, Jack. He's in this instance, he's allowing you to have that, moment of exhilaration, which you worked hard and earned.
Yep.
And he's making sure you've got that. Okay. Well, I guess the next thing up is biggest influences on each of you in your wrestling careers.
Yeah, so all the way up through youth, sometimes it would be a struggle to get to practice. I didn't want to go. And, my dad would always push me to go. And he's always driving me all over the state every weekend, going up to these tournaments, whether it's in Camden or if it's in Massachusetts. We were going to go to pretty much everything we could to get me better. I remember I went to Cornell for a wrestling meet when I was in 5th grade, so I was very grateful for that. I got to meet Kyle Dake while I was down there.
Oh,
so
that's
that was pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah. And I have grown up wrestling with Dom my whole life. We've been practice partners since he first came in the room, so we've always been pushing each other. He's always been really aggressive, so back when I was a bit younger, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of afraid of him. When we first started wrestling, he was kind of
he's an
he was kind of the
impressive
crazy
specimen.
guy.
He's an
yeah.
imposing figure.
Yeah. And I also, my brother, he's a bit younger than me though, so unfortunately I won't be able to wrestle with him in high school. He's gonna be a freshman this year. He's a hell of a wrestler. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's pretty good.
So
we
you're
have
looking
another
forward to
Harriman
fun.
look forward to.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get to come back, watch him at a couple tournaments.
Step in the room, help
Yeah.
wrestle around, help
There
coach.
you go. That's
Yeah.
what it takes. The wrestlers coming back.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a good transition then to the last thing I want to do in the podcast is just talk about your future. So I know a little bit about it, but maybe you could
Yep.
tell us what you're planning for next year.
Yeah, so next year I'm going to be wrestling at USM, see how well I can do in that lineup, try to fight my way for a spot. And I'm really excited to get into that new environment where everyone in the room wants to be there, and they all want to get better. That's the goal every day. Everyone wants to get better no matter what it takes. So it'll be cool to be in a room with people who are in my position when they were in high school. It's everyone was where I was in high school, and then once you're all put together, it's a whole new game.
Yeah.
So do you know some of the wrestlers that are there? I know there are, some successful Maine wrestling
Yep.
there.
The most notable that went there last year was Derek Cody. He's a very good wrestler from Noble, and so the team is looking pretty good for these next couple of years. I know Colby Frost, he is on the team. He was an All-American this year at 149, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was.
So we have a lot of talent. Obviously, we got Jake Craig coming back next year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, it'll be fun to watch it. And
Yeah.
you'll be close enough where you'll be able to see your brother wrestle.
Yeah.
So.
I'll definitely
Yeah.
had to head down and watch you
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
go through
Definitely.
your career. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're going there. That's great.
Yeah, I'm excited for that big step.
And Mike Morin's a great coach too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
you-
he's
you're
a
gonna-
good man. I have a lot of respect for Mike.
Yeah. Mike was a senior when I was a freshman, and him and I would practice together, and we've kept that friendship all the way up through. And there's nobody better that I would want in your corner than him at that level. He's a good guy and
Yeah,
knows what he's talking about.
And the rest of his coaching staff is very impressive too.
Yep.
They've got a good group over there. And I know we just had our meeting for the Hall of Fame inductions, and he's on our board, so we were talking. And, of course, the whole board, we always want to know about what did you think of this past year and what you got coming up for next year. So he's pretty excited. And you were one of the names he mentioned that day would be coming. So we were all excited.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always nice watching a wrestler move on and extend
Yes.
their career and have success.
I hope you enjoyed episode 2 of our podcast. I want to thank the Studio Portland and particularly Logan McDonald, who shot and edited this episode.